but more the case of like how the world is, and like with better online comes more online qualifiers, and with the cost associated with both running events and travel, doing online qualifiers and stuff is a lot more realistic. For example, for Street Fighter, the last two big major offline events, they did remote commentary because it's cheaper to have people come into a studio than it is to like fly a whole team out there and then set up everything on site.
Dude, CPT sounds so capped, dude. Everything I hear about CPT sounds so annoying, man. Everything sounds annoying. Like, everything's online, like the pay-per-view shit, and then like I know unless you don't like the game, being a player is great. To my understanding, you literally get paid to be an SFL, and also you have EWC as an option, and you have CPT, so you have a lot of ways to make money playing Street Fighter. But like, it feels like everything around playing sounds so annoying.
Saudi Arabia, as part of the sports washing, like buying basically all of the equity in fighting games. They have Evo, which is on top of that also having Esports World Cup, and then running the Esports Nations Cup or whatever it's called. They have like another event that's going to be in the fall. It's just going to be purchasing more and more and more.
There's another one, Esports Nations Cup. What is that?
Money is not spent with an expectation to regain it. It's an investment in social capital, and like the amount of grassroots or community organized events that like belong to fighting games, I think is going to shrink more and more and more. Even if you
this is what probably one of my biggest worries personally. We won't talk about Saudi. I'm going to talk about NA. I said many times, I live in the middle of nowhere. Basically, I don't live near anybody who plays fighting games. So once I started playing 2D fighters, I am very blessed that I live in the East Coast USA. So what you could do previously is, I'm gonna get a fucking map. Despite not being able to play fighting games with people in my immediate area, because I'm a psycho, I can go to New York, I could go to Boston, I could go to Maryland and Virginia, and I could fly to Florida for CEO. I could fly to to Georgia for a final round. I could go to Ohio for season's beatings. I could go to Illinois for UFGT and later, which would later become Combo Breaker. There were a lot of options nearby on top of all the New York City and Philadelphia events that I could go to. So despite living somewhere in Bumblefuck, I could go to many places. Depending on how much I was willing to drive or fly, it was relatively inexpensive. It is in a general metropolitan area, but I am very far from anything that matters. To get to Brookland, which is now closed in New York City, it took me 3 hours to drive there. It took me 3 hours to drive to fucking Brookland, and they're just like, just come, just drive, and I just tank it with a smile. I am lucky to have that option. My concern is, and I'm not here to preach to you about politics, I'm not here to say one side is good or the other side is good. You should make your own choice. You think about it and make your own choice. That's not what I'm here for. There is a tier of an event that's gone. Like, it's just gone. You used to have NEC, Summer Jam, Winter Brawl, all gone. Fall Classic, gone. Final Round, gone. Season Beating, gone. All these, like, I don't want to say we were full smash and, like, there was an event every fucking weekend, but there was at least, like, 3 regionals a month-ish, or you could look at it as, especially going up to EVO, there was plenty of events, and you could choose to go to, like, 1 a month, and it's not like insanely expensive, and you split the room with somebody, you pay like 60 to 100 bucks for the hotel for the weekend, and you just worry about getting there, and you eat some local food and you're chilling. A lot of these events are gone. Right now, we have a lot of, you can be from the middle of nowhere, and because of online, you can get good at fighting. That's great, but there's 2 problems I have. One is that they don't get like a training circuit, for lack of a better word, because the big thing about like us versus like Japan, let's get a map of Japan. Japan is a lot smaller than the US. For people who don't know, Japan is not a big country, and I believe the stat is, I think people only live on like 20% of their land in Japan or some shit like that. The big thing is, on this map, Tokyo, Kyoto, and then Nagoya is somewhere in the middle of here. Via bullet train, it is really easy to go between these 3. It takes about like 2 to 3 hours to ride from here to here, and then another 2 to 3 hours to ride from here to here. So the thing that we always said about fighting games is that, like, the country is small and everyone plays in a city. Like, a lot of people live in the city, so they all play with each other all the time, and that's why they get really good. So even though, like, not everyone lives in New York City, or not everyone lives in historically California has a very active local scene, not everyone lives in Cali, or historically Texas has a very active scene locally, but not everyone lives in Texas, right? One of the main things that make fighting games so much different from like other esports, for lack of a better word, is that they're built on the back of offline. They're built on the back of offline competition. Offline competition, I think, basically is the most important aspect of fighting games. I think it's one of the things that makes it the most unique, and it's very personable, and like those fighters are there. The less of this regional thing that we have, the less opportunities that people have to do it. And a big thing, always like one of the big sells of fighting games, is that it's like anyone can do it. Sejam mentioned Esports World Cup. Boom. These guys won. Look, this is amazing. Look, there's confetti. They're all on stage. There's a girl taking a selfie. There's a lot of people screaming champions. How do you get to Esports World Cup? You can't just get to Esports World Cup. You can't just get to Red Bull Kobe. At least in fighting games, they have a way for you to do it. But basically, it's like a lot of these, the higher stakes tournaments, you can't just be in it. One of the biggest things about fighting games, you can be the person from nowhere. You can grind online, and you be like, I'm going to Evo. I'm going to Combo Breaker. If you live in Wyoming and you are net playing and you're the number one, I don't know, Dizzy, Unica online or something, you can go to Combo Breaker and you can try and you can make it here. You could just do it. I think that's like one of the best things about fighting games. My concern is that the less regionals there are, the less chances you have to build yourself up to this, because it is actually incredibly difficult to go to your first really big tournament and do well. It just depends on what type of person you are and how you deal with nerves. And in my case, I took me forever to learn how to deal with nerves, but again, I was very lucky compared to most people. I got to do this. I got to go up and down. I got to go to NEC. I got to go to Civil War. I got to go to Final Round. I got to learn over time how to deal with fucking nerves and how to deal with and to don't go crazy. Like, don't go in when you have the life lead when there's 5 seconds left, and all those fucking little lessons that you learn from competing over time. I don't know where Sejim's gonna go, but the good news is I do think we're not cooked all the way over here. There's Slashback, for example. There's Texas Showdown, which runs fucking everything. There's in Puerto Rico, they have First Attack, they run fucking everything. In my region, they're starting to combine the monthlies to have like a regional. There's SQXL, which they just ran for the first time. A bigger version of a previous event, right? There's Boston Blue Beat. And one thing I really like about AWT, and for here, I can't speak for other regions, I can only speak for where I live, which is in North America. I feel like they are starting to do a really good job. One of the things that's hard about NA is that we have the hard plats, right? We have like Evo and Combo Breaker and Frosty and shit. I feel like they are starting to do a really good job of like supporting these like this, and they support this. This is a French bred only tournament, so there'll be a Street Fighter person who might agree with me, like, there's some regionals that are dying, I'm worrying about it, but they won't talk about, like, Climax. There's this, which I never get to go to because it's always the same day as this, but there's stuff, basically. That's kind of, like, my small hope. I'm pretty concerned that you are essentially going to be mildly locked out of competitive opportunities unless you play the biggest games and you're on the right esports team. I'm really worried about that.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is that our event, like Capcom, the way they split money is just so awful. Like, I don't get why EWC's prize split was so much better for Street Fighter than Capcom Cup when they had less total money. The SNK split as well. I mean, I think the SNK and Capcom Cup split, what was it for SNK? It was like 1.5 million or 1.25 million second or whatever. It was so bad, and everybody was so mad at them. And then SNK made it worse. Whoever's decision in both cases who decided to do that, it's baffling to me that this made it past any sort of roundtable discussion.
No comment. I'm not crying about winning 100K, bro. I'm just saying, man. I'm not crying about it.
SNK spending millions and millions and millions to get Ronaldo or like Speed or KSI or Logan Paul. The amount of sales they would gain from all of that is like dwarfed by if they spent less than $100,000 and threw an event where they invited all the best SNK players in the world to like play the game for like.
Yeah, the marketing, like, I've been doing sponsored videos for SNK through a marketing agency. And when I booted up the game for Chun-Li, I was like, dude, the game is cool. The game is cool. So that means they fumbled because the game is cool. The game has Smash levels of history in the game of like SNK shit. It looks fine to good. Graphics are fine. Music is good. You can make your own playlist. You can customize colors. All the menus look good. The netcode kind of sucks. They got fixed. The game itself is cool. They can advertise how cool the game is. They did the classic, like, we'll get somebody who has a big number online. We'll use them. But the problem is, if they don't care, it doesn't matter. Like, if one of those people cared a little bit about the game, it would have done so much more. It would have done so much more. Yeah, it was funny that Salvatore Salvatore, my bad, was the person who cared the most. He went to mad events. Like, it's like he cares about the game.
Yeah, who's watching WrestleMania and then sees Fatal Fury City of the Wolves logo and is like, oh, bet. No one knows what the IP is, so like it's just completely lost. Like, whereas an IP like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, if you staple the logo right onto the front of the thing, then like people at least know that IP. But Fatal Fury is like too old of an IP for you to do that with. It doesn't make sense.